Clearly, Dharmesh, while opinion is clearly positive for the India story in totality, but currently that little bit of concern with regards to whether or not this is just some amount of traction before we once again see a bit of a sell-off, that question remains. If we dive into that a little bit more, what do you feel would be the biggest factors that could possibly lead to that at this point? Would that be largely tech-driven? Because most of the other factors at play right now have been largely priced in.
See, if you look at overall our index composition, I think so financial sector looks to be in a good shape. The banks are still reasonably valued, so I don't see a large downside in the banking sector. You know, the large heavyweights like Reliance, ITC, they're also in a good situation. So there is a limit for the index to go down substantially. Okay. I think so there's a downside protection also for India. But the upside will also, the other problem is that India has outperformed all emerging markets. So clearly the upside also will take time to come. And only when the fundamental situation changes and when there is a risk on bet in the global world, will you see if FI's money coming into India, because India has outperformed. So it's not the first market people are dying to buy into, but they will start buying as soon as they see, you know, the risk of global risk is off and they want to start putting money into emerging markets, and obviously India will be the first choice for them. So I see some kind of, you know, stagnation coming in the next few months, and will take based on what the events happen in the coming few months globally, and on that basis more money will start flowing in.
So you think, Dharmesh, there's a chance that the market will go back and revisit the lows of, say, around 15,200 on the Nifty, where we bounced back from, pierce it and go lower? I mean, what is your expectation about the bottom formation?
I don't think so we'll test the bottom which we tested earlier, because things are improving for India, as I said, in this quarter onwards. Because of the fall in commodity prices, we have had a decent monsoon so far. So the inflation has also peaked out. So I doubt that we'll test the bottoms, but I think the market will remain flat for some time. Look for events, and when you see, you know, numbers coming back, because you still just seen one quarter of numbers post the oil price hike. If you see demand continue to grow in even a, not in a very strong way, but decent manner, I think so market will steadily climb up, but definitely doesn't look like testing the earlier bottom. Unless oil goes to, you know, $140, $150, then all bets are off.
You know, financials have started improving in terms of market performance after a long time, and their earnings are holding up reasonably well. But the underperforming sector which has started to come back in the last few weeks is autos. I mean, it's a clear standout sector. I mean, the M&Ms and Marutis of the world. Where do you stand on that lot?
I would say you will see decent demand coming back, especially with good monsoons, and we still not yet out of the monsoon. We still have 2 more months, but so far it looks very encouraging. And if the monsoons are good, generally auto sector should do well. You have big festive season coming in, and with inflation taming down, I think so even the festive demand will also pick up. And autos were oversold, as you can see, last 6 months back. I'm reasonably bullish on auto sector.
Huge IPOs that have been shelved, Dharmesh, given the market volatility. Given the kind of valuation we've seen some of the original listings trading at currently, do you feel there'll still be market appetite for some of these IPOs when they hit the markets over the next few months?
See, I would say that the door is shut, but the window is still open. So you will see a few IPOs coming in the market at a reasonable valuation, and they should get demand. I expect few IPOs to, at least we are leading one IPO which hopefully should be hitting this month, and selectively few IPOs will happen. Yes, there are almost like 125 IPOs which have been filed, and more will file. Not all will go through, but it's not as if, you know, none will happen. Some of them will go through with reasonable valuation, and yes, valuations will get corrected a lot from what people were expecting earlier.
What are you cautious about, Dharmesh, after the pullback? What sectors would you stay away from at these kind of levels?
Well, I would say still the global economy is in trouble, so I would stay away from sectors which are very much dependent on global economy and global growth. So that will be clearly something which is, I would be really cautious of, especially if the valuations have gone up in the recent times. I would still rather be placed on India bets, especially manufacturing, which I think so with the government scheme of things, the kind of reforms they've been talking about, I think the manufacturing will be a very, very strong sector to bet on. So anything which is domestic, I would rather focus on that. Global sectors I will still worry about.